Hi, this is Stu, and welcome to Purple Valley's interview slots. And here I'm with Jeff and Harmony Dikti. And welcome, guys. And I want to say, you're getting a really good response from the students here. They're loving your sort of relaxed approach, but forceful sometimes, but seem to know what they need and not pushing them in directions they don't want to go or don't need to go. And is that a sort of generally your approach? You seem to be very wise as to what each student requires. What do you think? Is that something you try and foster?
Yeah, definitely. I think with years of teaching Mysore,
Yeah.
you get sort of a sense of where people are at on any given day, and you get the sense that somebody wants to deepen something a little bit more, you can kind of facilitate that for them. Or if you get the sense someone's a little tired or wanting to hold back a little bit, you can just give them that space, hold the space for them to maybe explore on their own without too much extra input.
And you guys, you mentioned a couple of things in the welcome sort of get together that we have here before each retreat starts, and one of them was to do with length of practice. And I always perk my ears up when I hear that because I have an atrociously long practice. And so you guys were saying, okay, look, if it's over 2 hours, maybe we need to talk about why it's over 2 hours. Or so what's the thought processes that go behind that?
Well, I guess I should comment because it was my comment.
It was your comment.
It was my comment. Firstly, I think people that are over 2 hours need to think about and be very clear why they're practicing and what they're practicing for. Not that the length of time is the issue, because it's really not, but rather, are we being efficient in our practice? And are we being efficient in our life? Or is the mat just another way to defer our responsibilities from elsewhere? So to me, it's a much more global question rather than like this asana, that asana.
Right.
Where does it take us? But rather, how do we manage our practice efficiently so that we're working it to the best of our abilities and then also adding the value off the mat? Yeah. So when someone says, I've got a much longer than 2 hour practice, I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah. And so that becomes my question. And so it's like, well, what's going on? I mean, what are you doing? And so I would ask you, like, why do you practice so long? I mean, I was specifically speaking about asana, because really, when Sharath would lead a lead class, a lead primary series, let's just take it there, an hour and a quarter, an hour and 20 minutes is about the right amount of time. So if you have people working from first series into second series and adding a bunch of second series postures on, and they're going up and they're doing another 40 minutes of second series, at what point are they not progressing efficiently through their practice? Jump through, fidget, do my hair, put my ponytail back, wipe my sweat, this kind of thing, and again, then it just becomes a matter of efficiency. So that's why I kind of made that as an off-the-cuff remark. But that would be what I would want to look at.
Yeah, I like the idea you're saying there as well, is to look at the impact of that time you've allotted on the outside rest of your life as well. Why do you feel that you can allot 3 hours or more plus out of your day just for this or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, my question is, are you hiding? What are you hiding from? Like, you're hiding on your mat. Are you hiding on your mat from your relationship? Are you hiding from your work responsibilities? Are you hiding from, what are you hiding from? Are you hiding? It's just a question. It may not be applicable at all. There are definitely times in Mysore where I'm not there yet, but there's been friends who have been doing all of second and almost all of third, and that is close to a 3 hour practice. So there are some exceptional circumstances where it would go that way, but mostly that's my thought process.
Yeah. And how many have you always practiced relatively within those confines, or you have, how have you got? Because now you're finishing all of third. Yeah. So did that require some really diligent work, or has it just been an ongoing sort of rolling forwards?
Yeah, I mean, definitely there's been times where my practice has been quite long and extensive, and third series was about a 10-year process of me working through it step by step. So it wasn't a
You did have a
speedy
kid in there.
process, and I did have a child in the
And
middle.
you did have your appendix out in India.
Yeah, and
That was traumatic, I
I had
imagine.
surgery as well.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, 2 steps forward, So yeah, I mean, it was never. I don't think that it was a big push, but there was times where it was very difficult.
And have you guys do you have a similar approach to the way you meet obstacles within the practice, or the way you sort of deal with things? Let me ask you this both to answer individually. So say, for instance, we all have, a certain predisposition, not easy to say, towards some things. It might be strength, it might be a flexible spine, it might be open hips or whatever. So then we're faced with these things that we find relatively easy, and then those things, normally there's an inverse side, that we have other things that we find particularly difficult. So how have you approached those? If we start with maybe the easy stuff, have you approached those so we'll ask you both individually, because you've both got different body types, haven't you, as to how you've approached those sorts of things you found easy, shall we say. Looks like Harmony first.
I think when I first started the practice, there was a lot more things that I found easy.
Okay, well that makes sense. Now you're into third, yeah.
Yeah, but even like the stuff that I used to find easy, I kind of find hard now.
Okay. So do you think that's because you've got stronger doing the third, or
I think,
what's
I
changed?
think that extra strength I used to be a lot more flexible, or
Okay.
feel a lot more flexible, so
Yeah.
some of the deeper back bending felt a lot easier.
Okay.
And I think with a lot of the arm balances, it really strengthens your
Yeah.
back and your shoulders, and so now I feel like the back bending's quite a bit more difficult than it
Okay.
used to be. But I think as far as easy stuff goes, I don't know, I just count my blessings and say, thanks be to God that this one isn't as hard as all the other ones.
And Jeff, what about you? Did you, is there a particular group of things that you've always found quite easy?
I'm a bit similar in that at the beginning I found all of it a lot easier.
Yeah.
I think now I'm just finding it all a little bit more difficult.
And
And I think some of it, to be honest, really is teaching more.
Okay, so less time for yourself?
Yeah, at the beginning, the first, 5 years, I mean, we really spent a lot of time just in serious study without many responsibilities. And then, life comes along and you have to take on more responsibility. And in taking on more responsibility, just there's a little more heaviness, I think, maybe just in, I don't want to say heaviness. There's more to manage.
Yeah.
And when you're managing more, then you have to juggle a little bit more. And I feel like in that regard, there's been, especially adding a child,
Yes.
for instance, that's the biggest thing really. Since Jedi has been born, I would say that's the one that really has made the biggest impact on practice. And from starting practice doing Surya Namaskara A, and I've got my 1 hour where I think he's going to be asleep, and I start into Surya Namaskara A, 1 or 2 of those, and then he's like, la, 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 and comes running out, and he jumps on you, and then you're like, okay, that was my practice for the day.
Yeah.
And, I lie down, and he jumps on you in Shavasana, and that's the end of it, and it goes to that. So, in that sense, practice has become much more difficult, because then when I do get on the mat, the consistency of a longer, stronger practice is gone. So, we'll go to Mysore on Friday, and for me, the first month is probably going to be a little torturous, trying to extend myself into practice in a much deeper way again, in a much more consistent way. And so in that way, I find that it's become a little bit more difficult. Other things have become easier in that I don't have the same kind of expectations I used to have on myself, and
Okay.
and I've just allowed myself to be a little easier with not trying to be at peak performance shape.
And do you think that's come with age and insight, or has it come through life situation and adapting to that? Or do you think you would have got there regardless?
That's a very good question.
Of course, they're all very good questions, of course.
I think part of it's age and insight, and then also part of it is having more, like Jeff was saying, more responsibilities in your life, more things to manage. You know, a child, growing family responsibilities. You realize that you can't maybe be as indulgent as taking so much pride and time and effort in this tiny part of your life that's asana, and you have to take the yoga further than what's happening on the mat and make it applicable to what you're doing all day long in the rest of your life. And hopefully we all get there through whatever circumstances arrive. Eventually, I think you start to realize that this asana is supposed to be a tool to help us in the rest of our life and to facilitate our growth and development and maturity and stability of mind, so that we can manage more and more and more responsibility rather than trying to take less responsibility so that we can just have our own little private personal practice, right? So I think it's a bit of both. You know, sometimes life forces you to grow when maybe it's easier, you know, or maybe it would have been safer in some ways not to be expansive in life. But you know, you can't just stay in this little cocoon of an asana practice forever. You have to take that and grow with it, and let that be what is creating stability for you, or creating steadiness, creating peace, but then keep that going.
Keep that going.
You know.
And what about on the flip side, those things that maybe you've come across? It might be a particular asana, or it might be a block of asanas, or the time constraints, or whatever. Those times where something has been particularly difficult, it might even be something that's going on in your body outside of the practice. How do you encounter those? What is it do you do, and do you work differently with the way you approach things, or your expectations? Jeff, we go with you.
Definitely would work differently. I mean, Harmony is much more willful to make her way through it, and there's a steadiness of mind and practice for her that's I think, I don't know if I would say stronger, but I would say that's probably true.
More
right?
determined.
Well, yeah, more determined, that where you're like, you're going to get on your mat and you're going to, bend your body to this asana again, And, I think my approach is a little bit different. I mean, I'm older, but...
Is there much of a difference between you guys?
11 years.
11 years?
Yeah.
Well, that makes a big difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, I'm 47 and Harm's 36. So, I guess I just feel that when it comes to those harder things, I'm a little more willing just to sit back and let it unfold a little more naturally. And now, not before, I mean, probably not 10 years ago, but definitely now I feel like I'm not going to break myself into an asana shape. I'm not going to break myself to YouTube quality, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And this might go on YouTube. You don't want to do something now? Just real quick.
I could break something out, maybe like a headstand in the pool or something.
Yeah, some crazy shape. Not right now.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe at the end. Maybe at the end we can do some outtakes. Yeah, that'd be great.
And so, I mean, is there something that sticks out in your mind that, okay, you came across such and such, and then you approached it in a particular way?
All the backbending stuff for me has been difficult, like right from the beginning. So I've had to spend a lot of time just lying over stuff, trying to open my back
Right.
and open my heart. And I feel like in some ways, Harmony is just much more open physically and probably mentally. I mean, I spend a lot of time as a medic, and I think one time when Guruji was still alive, we were chatting with Guruji, and I was talking to him, and he says, oh, old buddy having, you slowly taking. And I guess I took that to heart, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, at the time I wasn't old, and I'm still not. But it's more that I think what he saw was probably a combination of 16 years of being a paramedic and
Yeah.
having some of that, you know, some of the traumas that I was involved in. They kind of get
Being
absorbed a little bit. They get
Mm,
wrapped up into your system a little bit. And
Yeah.
I feel like now I'm into my 16th year of Ashtanga. I feel like now I'm going to get back to a nice neutral spot, and
Yeah.
it's going to be a nice clean slate. So I'm looking forward to like having,
Between
you know,
now
my
and 80.
16 years of
Yeah.
16 years as a paramedic being wiped out with 16 years of
Yeah.
asana, and now maybe
Now
I
it's
can
clean.
start to, you know, now we can start doing some work. So that'll be good. I'm looking forward to
That
it.
sounds cool. Harmony, you were going to lead in with how you approach things and whether you think you're willful.
You're willful.
Right.
Are you
Are you
willful?
willful?
You're not really willful. You're persistent as hell.
Yeah.
No.
Am I willful? Maybe a little.
In life and on the mat?
Yeah. I don't know if it's willful, but just determined. Maybe a little
That's
stubborn.
good.
So how does that represent itself on the mat? How do you
Well, I
approach
don't give
things?
up easily,
Okay.
and I think when I come across things that are difficult, I try not to ever doubt
Yeah.
myself or my capabilities. And if it doesn't work out, as it often doesn't work out, then I just try again.
Okay. So it
And
doesn't. You
keep-
don't get knocked down. You don't.
Yeah, I try not to let it disturb my confidence or my inner
Yeah.
sense of stability or peace. I just kind of keep going at it
Yeah.
persistently.
And there's a difference between willfulness and carelessness or disregard for your body or
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So I'm gathering, of course, that you're making that delineation.
Yes, of course. I mean, I don't think that I force
Yeah.
things. I mean, I've never, forced myself into something where, I've broken myself
Yeah.
or had some, something go wrong that way. But, I like to push myself up against that edge
Yeah.
of where, the possibility is. So,
And I remember saying to you, getting through third must have required a lot of work. I mean, they're really complex postures
Yeah.
and very involved. And I said, did you do a lot of work outside of the practice? And you said, no, not really. I just kept on doing the stuff. And is that
Yeah.
being a thread through? Because a lot of us, me included, I'm afraid, think, okay, I'm going to have to do a lot of this in order to do that. And I'll go off and do it outside of the practice. And so, but it's good to hear that by continually going through things, you've
Yeah.
made the progress you've made.
So with the third series practice, I didn't really do a lot outside of the practice because, well, first
Don't
of
have
all,
a lot of time.
yeah, first of all, I was, kind of working my way through it, and then I had an appendicitis one year when we were in Mysore, so I had to get my appendix taken out. So then I had to give myself a break for 4 to 6 weeks,
She went from third series to no series.
No, seriously, just
rebuild
overnight.
again
Yeah.
from primary series while we were in Mysore, and
Yeah.
then I think I ended up sort of doing some intermediate, but
Right.
not a lot of intermediate before we had to leave. So then
Okay.
at home I had to rebuild my practice again. And then 2 years later, 2 years later I got pregnant. And so then I was
Another
pregnant
little rest. Yeah.
and had a baby. So then it was rebuilding the practice up again. And then after that, it was just really like trying to carve out a space to consistently practice.
Yeah.
And I think out of everything, that was probably the thing that was the most helpful.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of time to do extra stuff because I was super busy with a newborn baby, and then
Yeah.
a toddler, and now
And a yoga school.
a yoga school.
Yeah.
We were teaching full time, and we had just opened our yoga school too. So that was super busy. We were like crazy busy
Yeah, full
with
on.
everything going on outside of the practice. So just carving out like consistent time to start to work on the practice and then do the practice, and then getting back to Mysore to practice with Sharat, my teacher, and having him give me some input. And you know, Sharat never really moves me very quickly in the practice. He's known me for a long time. He gives me just enough,
Yeah,
and it's consistent, but it's not fast.
yeah.
He always gives me like a few weeks to kind of work on something.
So you a plodder?
Yeah, I'm a plotter. I just slow and steady wins the race. He doesn't push me into things. I tend not to push myself, but I get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But determined.
Yeah.
Determined plodder.
Honestly, I would say that this might be the difference, though, with the certified teachers that are coming out now.
Yeah.
I mean, to be certified with Sharat is not easy. It wasn't easy with anyone, for Guruji either, of course, but it's a hard practice, and to be able to do third series consistently with Sharat in Mysore under his watch and be given these postures year after year after year and build on them and be able to perform them, every time you're showing up in Mysore in order to keep building on it. That is the Sthira Bhega, that is steady strength, and being able to keep the mind steady and keep the body steady even when it doesn't feel like being steady, keep the mind steady even when the body might feel steady. All of these things together, that is the Sthira Bhega. And I think that, maybe that's the difference. Maybe I'm just a little more whimsical. I'm like, okay,
Whimsical.
I think that might not be it for me, or something. I don't know, but that definitely is a component when, strong determination and steadiness is what's really gonna bring people through. And it's not all about, I need to do this to do that. I don't need to do all these extra postures. I don't need to do all this extra training, to do postures, but rather just do consistently the practice under a good teacher, a consistent teacher, one who knows you. See, that's the difference. And I think that's part of the problem we had talked about a little. You had mentioned a little bit about this earlier. So many people now have workshop teachers. So they go to a workshop for the weekend and then they don't check in, with anyone, and they're on their own. And so they're sort of making up a little bit as they go. And they take the pearls that they get from the workshops, and workshops are great. But the bottom line is that it's consistently practicing under a teacher that will really give you the biggest growth benefit. And even here, I mean, we see that, everyone has, I mean, the teachers that are coming through here at Purple Valley are fantastic, the best teachers in the world, but all of us are going to have a different slant on things. So the practice becomes difficult if you were to only be here. I know some of the people.
I mean, we've got a lot of
stay
people
here.
that really they don't have a teacher because of where they live or the geography or whatever. And so what are the things that you feel, when you see people that have been practicing at home for extended periods of time, perhaps we've got some good pointers for them to look out for in your own practice, things that you've come across regularly, and also maybe some positive things about practicing on your own. Okay, we know it's nice to have a teacher because it provides, some insight, but it also takes a hell of a lot of discipline to be practicing on your own somewhere and get up every day and do it regardless. Sometimes it's easier to practice in a group situation. So maybe for both of you, some tips for people to look out for if they are one of those that are practicing consistently on their own. What do you think?
I think practicing consistently on your own is a lot more harder,
a
lot more difficult than practicing in a group. Because when you practice in a group, you have the energy of the group. It kind of motivates you and sustains you. Even if you're feeling a little tired that day, you can get in the group and all of a sudden you have a lot more energy. And when you have a regular teacher, it's nice. There's a little accountability there, right? Someone you're showing up for. When you practice on your own at home, you have to show up for yourself, which is
And
challenging.
do you notice
sometimes.
things about certain types of alignment or certain types of... Is there more faffing around with people that practice at home, or more ponytail tying, or whatever it might be? Or
Sometimes there can be.
Yeah.
Sometimes there can be a little bit more fidgetiness, a little bit less disciplined mind. But sometimes the practices of, if people have a very dedicated home practice, sometimes it can be a little bit more integrated. So I think if you're practicing on your own at home, one of the best things you can do for your practice is just try to really sink into the vinyasa, that breath and the movement, and try and take out all the little extra things. Just try and be as consistent to the vinyasa as you can, because it gets you through. You can feel the flow of the practice. It's like if you stop, then the mind pulls you away from your practice. So if you can just like sink into the breath, sink into the vinyasa, be in the posture, move with the breath, and don't worry too much about like alignment or perfection. Just try and be in that place where your mind is really present in what you're doing. I think then your practice can be very cohesive, and we see that sometimes with people who practice on their own in a disciplined way. It's like they're not conflicted about, should I do it this way or should I do it that way?
Yeah, because they've only got the one way.
Yeah, they just do it the way they do it.
Yeah.
So sometimes practicing with too many teachers is worse than just practicing on your own at
As
home.
you say, because everybody comes from a different slant, and you can get a little bit...
You're confused.
Which
It's
one
confused.
to go with? Yeah.
And all of them are very good, and they might all lead to the same spot.
Yeah.
However, in that we have to choose. I mean, tet pratishe dartam eka tet pabhyasaha. This is from the sutras. It's like you take one practice. This is very clear.
Yeah.
I think with the home practicing crew, it's really important to try to remove as many obstacles as you can. So, I mean, you only have to go on Facebook and you see, someone doing a downward dog and their cat's coming through, and then their dog's coming through, and, their kid's coming through, and their whatever's coming through. And I mean, there's some things, of course, you're not going to be able to get rid of the responsibilities that you have. However, a couple things come to mind. I mean, try and practice in the same spot in your house every day. Keep it consistent.
Yeah.
Keep it clean. Set it up maybe the night before. Make sure that that you're not running into simple conflicts of, I gotta go past my fridge to get to my mat. I don't know, whatever it happens to be.
Is that a big calling
but
for
start
you?
to see that, like my beer fridge. No, no, my chocolate fridge. Whatever. But you kind of understand what I mean.
Yeah, of course.
Create a sacred space, and I'm not saying that it some people, it could just be, I only have the galley in my kitchen. That's fine. It could be the galley in your kitchen, but try to get in the habit of immediately stepping on the mat and just starting.
Yeah.
And start. And that was one thing that Sharath was really great with us at the beginning. There's a few times I remember thinking, I got to open my hips. So I'd go in, I'd lay down, I'd try and do a hip opener or whatever. He'd come storming out of the office like, just start, just start. And, really, it's such a great life lesson, isn't it? Just start. If you wait till all of the parameters are perfect, we're never going to do it. For anything, for so many things.
I have about half an hour faffing around before I start.
Yeah, right? Like, it's just get on your mat and start. And the first Surya Namaskar doesn't have to be spectacular, but start. Yeah. And so, to me, try and create a spot that's sacred. Try and just get there with your feet on the mat, and then you're going to start growing the energy of practice in that area. The other thing, those are the two main things I think probably.
And what about motivation? Because for a lot of people now in Europe and Canada, of course, and America, the winter is coming, isn't it? And it's darker and it's cold, and even to go to practice, if you I remember cycling to practice, in England in the winter, and it was dark outside, but then you get there and then, okay, now we're into it and we're getting going. So sort of things to help motivate them, or ways of channeling your thought process to make sure you keep that consistency, make sure you keep it going?
Never hit the snooze button.
No, yeah,
and
that's
get
cool.
up. Like, just do it.
Yeah. So that's it, really. You just got to go and do
Just
it.
don't hit the snooze button.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and I'm like, this morning I hit the snooze button twice. I'm like, I know never to hit the snooze button. You know, I mean, I'm not saying you're going to do it every time, but you know, if you make it your habit to get up, then what's going to happen is you're going to start waking up before that snooze button is going to go. You're going to wake up 2 or 3 minutes before your alarm even goes. You're like, cool, it's time. I got to get up. You look at your watch. You're like, right, okay, go. Yeah. And then you know what? To me, it's this idea that it's almost beat your clock. Beat your clock. Make it your internal clock. Let your internal clock wake you up, but have your alarm ready, you know, and wake up and get up and just get up and get moving. Yeah. And there's lots of excuses not to. It's cold out. You want to lie under the covers. You want to snuzzle up. You know, like whatever it is, like there's always an excuse, but just do it.
Which of the two of you is more determined like that? Or are you pretty equal? Is there never any doubt? Do you practice at different times, or?
Yeah, we don't really practice together
anymore.
Ever.
Not anymore.
Because of the little one, or
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the teaching responsibilities and
And what about like if you're on holiday and so you weren't teaching, would you choose to practice together, or is it a distraction to have the other one there?
Well, Harmony does asana. Often I'll be doing pranayama while she's doing it. So sometimes, I don't know, like when we've been here, you know, she'll be doing asana and I'll be doing my pranayama. And,
hitting the snooze button.
Yeah. It's like, how's that going over there, honey?
Oh, it's lunchtime already. How did I miss my practice?
Yeah. Can I backbend you yet? Oh, no, snooze. You know.
I don't know. We don't practice together very much.
Ever, yeah.
Sometimes we used to, but
yeah, and you know,
we
really, you know, really, I at one point in Mysore, well, both of us, I guess we came to it together, but I sort of realized it's like, wow, I gotta like move away from Harmony, because what I think happened in Mysore is that Sharat sort of teamed us up to the lowest common denominator, which was me. And so, you know, and it was better for Harmony to be seen on her own mat by herself, not beside me. And so at some point, it was just like, you know, you go practice, like go and kick it. And I'm going to be doing my practice. And, you know, because I don't care if I do any more asana, really. And Harmony really wanted to get through third. And you know, I'll look at it, but I'm not, you know, fussed either way. And so the difference with that, $35,000 feet at 35,000 feet, it's so difficult. You know, no, but I guess, you know, somewhere in there we just sort of like, we just split our mats up, and it was more so Harmony can do her own thing and not be bothered with me, and if I'm having a bad day in the mat, and I can do my own thing and I can have a bad day in the mat or not have a bad day in the mat, and you know, we can talk about it later or not, and you know, and mostly we don't. It's sort of like,
doesn't really
matter. Because it doesn't really matter. Practice is practice. So, but I think it did actually help Harmony, didn't it? You know, moving away from me.
To get a distraction of some.
No, not the distraction. I think.
Guy faffing
around on his mat beside you.
No. I think I really believe, like I really believe Sharat sort of was holding you back so I could keep up, and
he
it's
didn't
like
want to make you feel bad.
Maybe he didn't want to make me feel bad or something. I don't know. You know.
Side.
Yeah, whatever. You know, but it was so much better when she just could go on her own and like fly through asana, and I could, you know, muddle my way through in my tolerated kind of way. So, you know, it's fine. It's totally fine, really. I'm quite good with it.
And you touched on one of the sutras just now, and there's a lot of people out there that want to start getting into a bit of philosophy, and I know Harmony, is it right to say a double philosophy major? How do we say it?
It's just two bachelor's degrees, like
in
double
philosophy.
degrees.
Yeah.
One in philosophy and one in religious studies.
Okay, so you should know your stuff. So
a long time.
So how do people make a start, and how do they bring it, something that is from such a long time ago, how do they make it fresh and applicable to now?
Well, I think one of the best ways is to get a good, easily understandable translation of the Yoga Sutras.
Can you recommend one in particular?
Yeah, so Swami Satchidananda
Okay.
has a very good, easily readable version of the Yoga Sutras
Okay.
that is quite, it's nice. You can read the sutras, there's a word-for-word translation, and he gives a short,
Interpretation.
yeah, that is written in a very understandable way
Okay.
that makes it applicable to life. When I first started practicing, a book that came into my world was called Meditations from the Mat by
Okay.
Rolf
Gates, I think it is.
Gates, I think.
Might have his name
Yeah.
wrong, but he's a vinyasa flow
Think
teacher
that's
from
it.
down the States.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Ex-military, ex-alcoholic, but really beautiful book. I mean, such a nice...
it was really nice.
Yeah.
He kind of does a short sort of paragraph meditation, not meditation, but like some insight
Yeah.
for every day of the year. So it's 365 little...
Oh, okay. That one you can take
Yeah.
each day.
And
yeah.
it's based on the sutras. So he'll have sort of a section on ahimsa
Yeah.
or nonviolence, and then a section on satya, truth, and it goes all the way through to samadhi.
Okay.
So that was really a very gentle introduction.
That was nice. Yeah, that was nice. I
and
forgot
Like
about
drip feeding over a year.
It was really nice,
yeah,
actually.
and you
I
don't
forgot
have to
about that.
like take. You know, it's not so much that you're like, what is he talking about? It's
Yeah.
really nice, easily relatable
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
Great, actually. I should do that again myself. I like that.
Yeah,
There
it
we
was a
go.
nice one.
The
And
sales
then,
are going to
Oh,
rocket in that
nice.
particular book.
And then I think a nice Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, a nice Gita translation would be good.
Again, a
Maybe-
recommendation.
I like, I think Graham Schwig has a really nice translation. It's basically just simply the Gita, no big commentary. There's just a few little footnotes, maybe to help you understand certain
Yeah.
words. And it's in a more like a poetry kind of form.
Yeah.
So like the Gita would read, because the Gita's a song, right?
So, I mean, don't say right to me because I'm like in an oblivion of ignorance when it comes to philosophy.
Yeah.
So, so it's a song. That's,
Yeah.
I might even get there
Yeah,
one day.
Gita means song. I mean, it's a story, but it can be chanted,
Right.
you know, in a way that has a nice rhythm to it.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like a bit of poetry in
Yeah.
Sanskrit. Yeah.
And you've both, I mean, obviously, Jeff as well, you've got a good handle on the Sanskrit, and have you delved together to certain things, or just come from different angles, or how did it work?
Yeah, we
What-
spent some time studying together. We've studied with Jaishri and Narasimhan in Mysore. So
Yeah.
we spent quite a few years studying with them and chanting the sutras.
Yeah.
And then we've stayed with some other teachers also in Mysore, doing philosophy, Professor Nagaraja Rao, and who else? A few other professors.
Professors that know their
Of
business.
philosophy,
Yeah.
and some Sanskrit teachers. So
And is there particular bits that really resonate with you more than other bits, shall we say, that you thought, oh, okay, yeah, I can really relate to this?
yeah, I like the stuff on the sutras and the Gita personally. That's sort of my favorite. We did a little bit of study on Sankhya and what was the logic school? One of the logic schools, like Mimamsa maybe or something. And those were a little not so relatable for me. Even though Sankhya is the underpinning philosophy for both yoga and Ayurveda, it sort of, once you kind of get what you need from that, I didn't feel like I needed to go
deep.
deeper into it.
Yeah.
That's just me.
I mean, everybody's journey is going to be different,
Yeah,
of course, isn't
totally.
it? And they'll draw different things from it.
Yeah.
But so Jeff, you've also got a background. So we've got the background of philosophy and the background of, obviously, as a paramedic, you learn a lot about the body, and there must be a depth of anatomy in there. How much do you draw upon that when you're looking at students?
I mean, I don't think that I use too much anatomical knowledge in my teaching right now. I mean, besides basic alignment things, you know, trying to
safety
keep, like safety bits. It certainly wouldn't be like you. I mean, like I don't have, you know, functional anatomy was not so much the big thing, and you know, like, you know, making sure I could hit a chest tube into the pleural space, or like decompress a chest, or, you know, like find the correct thyroid membrane if I wanted to do a, you know, surgical airway. I mean, those things didn't really, you know, translate well to like the Mysore room at the moment.
Was everybody a bit afraid to lay down in Shavasana to start with? In
just
case
lie down. I got
the
scalpel out, you know. You know, so some of my emergency medicine stuff just really doesn't translate, to be honest. Where it does translate in simple ways, where, you know, someone comes up lightheaded, I grab their pulse, immediately. Like there's some simple things that I'll always do that you know, I can tell a lot immediately from that. Anatomically, yes. I mean, of course, I know muscles and bones, and you know, I know where they are. But functional anatomy is not so good anymore. The thing that I draw on the most from my medic days, I think, is it's about pragmatics. You know, like, I'm a pragmatist. If the stuff's not working, like, we got to do something different.
Right.
You know, and it kind of goes like that, because, you know, when I was a medic, it's like, it was pretty simple. Go there, sick, not sick. That was the question. Are you sick? Are you not sick? And let's get you to the hospital, one way or the other, fast or slow, you know, and a bit like that. And we'd do something on the way, and sometimes it'd be pretty cool. But when it comes to our pursuit of yoga, I feel like so often we can get caught in a philosophical approach, or we can get caught even in an anatomical approach, where we spend so much time in our head that we just forget what we're doing. And so that goes back to what we were talking about that first night, even here at the retreat, which was like, what is your goal with doing this? If your goal is to get strong and flexible, then great, keep coming. And you know what, we'll be able to help you with that straight away, even just by doing simple asanas, you know, and taking you through primary series. You're going to get strong and flexible, and we'll try to do it in a way that keeps you safe so that you can continue to practice. If it's that you want to build more focus and determination, great, because this will be the starting spot to take you deeper into the practices, you know, and we'll know to take you a little maybe closer to your edge if that's where you want to go, and lean into some of the fears that you have. But I feel like there's a middle path where we need to really be aware of our anatomy and be aware of the philosophy and be aware of kind of where we're going, but then we need to just get on the mat and practice and accept what is. I joke with I've made jokes this week, but you know, with our students in Victoria, you know, about the most important bandha being the fourth bandha, you know, and they're like, the fourth bandha? What's the fourth bandha? I'm like, well, there's like Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, people are doing Jalandhara Bandha. I'm like, well, you're not going to read about it because I made it up. And, you know, it's to smile, right? It's like lift the corner edges of your lips during your practice. And seriously, I think, you know, we can get so caught up in an anatomical approach or a philosophical approach, or one teacher's approach, or that somewhere in there we've become so serious that we've lost
enjoying it.
We've lost the enjoyment of the practice, the whole reason that we came in the first place. And really what we need to do is learn to come back to that spot of enjoyment, moment to moment awareness, where really there's nothing wrong right now in this moment. It's when I allow myself to go to the future and the weight of the future comes barreling in on me, or where I get stuck in the past and I'm like, oh, I made that mistake, and oh, poor me, you know, whatever. And if I can really just stay present, really present, and enjoy the present moment and really connect deeply, you know, then this is where all of the real magic is anyways. And that to me is more of the approach. And so I feel like from my medic days and you know, some of the anatomical stuff that I learned that way, and then, you know, it's just from our philosophical studies and our interest, you know, certainly in the Yoga Sutras and mine in pranayama, and Harmony's too, and both of us in pranayama. And I just, even with all of that, there has to just be a simple enjoyment. You just have to come back and enjoy it and just sink really deeply into the present moment and really enjoy that present moment. And then let that come. And this is the real juice. And this is the thing. And out of that, you know, comes that sutra, or not a sutra, the quote from the Bhagavad Gita, the Samatvam Yoga Uchyate, which is, yoga is keeping the mind steady. So the more we can come to that present moment, the more we can come just and really sink deeply into what is right now. To me, this is the real starting spot for us. And everything else is, it's an approach, you know, it's great.
Yeah.
They're great things, but we all can get pulled off in our different ways. And to me, it still has it's a pragmatic thing. You know, Sankhya is the philosophy, yes, but the yoga is the practice. It's like, come back to practice, come back, come back, come back, come back.
I was going to say, with the winter
Yeah.
approaching, I think that's the one thing that is really helpful to get you out your door and on the way to your yoga practice is make that such an enjoyable part of your day that you don't want to miss it. You know,
Then you have exactly.
if you
You
love
have no
it,
problems. Yeah.
then you want to get there. You want to do it.
Hot run toddy.
You know,
I'm joking. I'm
yeah,
so joking.
if you love it, if it's
Someone's
so
going to go and do
enjoyable.
this.
Yeah,
No,
of
it's like
course.
they're going to be
Yeah.
like, Jeff said drink.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
Please don't take it that way.
It's
Then
true.
you'll-
It
then
needs
you'll
to
wanna
be
go.
enjoyable, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has to be enjoyable. It has to be something that you love, that you're excited to do every day. That, you know, even if it's not like, you know, like that excitement when you first started, at least you realize that the feeling afterwards is gonna get you through the rest of the day or something.
Yeah.
You have to find the good. You know, you have to find the thing that you love about it that keeps you coming back. Then it's easy. Then you're gonna want to go. You're gonna want to get there.
I think it's good. I think let's leave everybody with that high and that sense that look for the enjoyment, look for and then the middle path.
One of our teachers said a great thing, you know, this idea of don't be serious, be sincere, and cultivate sincerity. This is like,
makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Jeff and Harmony,
All
for talking to me. It's been
Thank
great,
you.
and
Fantastic,
it's
thanks.
lovely.
Yeah.
Thanks
Nice
very
to
much.
see you again.